sleep. We're going to start down in child's pose. So looks like we're all muted. Let's get going. We're going to start down in child's pose. So big toes together, knees apart. For today's class, you're going to need a pillow. Eventually, I think we will be lying down on the floor and you need some padding for your knees and your hips and your tummy, that sort of thing. A chicken is always advisable. If you got one, bring one. A pair of matching yoga blocks and a belt. It could be a proper yoga belt, a bathrobe tie, some sort of length for you to hold on to. All right, we're going to start in child's pose. Big toes together, knees apart. Hips stay stapled back down onto your heels. And then I'm going to curl up into a ball. Now for me, if I just put my forehead down on the ground, my butt flies up. So I have to either stack my fists, one potato, two potato, put that third potato on top, or use the edge of a block, put a little something underneath my head so that my weight stays shifted back and my hips stayed back down towards my heels. So you do you customize your child's pose so that you can curl up into a ball and have that arched spine shape, kind of like a Volkswagen Beetle. Hips down, head supported on something, and your back rounded. Curling into this child's pose. Oh, find your breath and let your breath come into your back body. And just observe how that breath feels today, how your back body is feeling. With your attention turned inward, and perhaps you can do this with your eyes closed, we're going to transition from this child's pose to a hands and knees position and move through cat and cow. If you know what I'm talking about, you can just do it with your eyes closed. Shifting from this child's pose to a hands and knees position. Chin tucked, tail tucked back, arch for cat pose. Exhaling all the breath out. And then inhale, smooth and steady. Inhaling, head up, tail up for the sway back to cow. And keep moving. Exhaling for cat. Inhaling for cow. Waving your spine up and down. Again, with your attention turned inward, riding the wave of your breath, observing how your back body feels. Now, as you move back and forth through cat and cow, you may feel a little tenderness, stiffness, soreness, whatever, somewhere in your body. And with your next exhalation, exaggerate that area. So pause the pose, but not your breath. And you might be somewhere halfway between cat and cow. You might be in a very dramatic cat. You might be in a very dramatic cow. Just pause the pose, but to keep breathing. And stay here for a few breaths. Breathing into that spot that needs a little extra attention. And then keep moving. Inhaling for your cow and exhaling for cat. Waving your spine back and forth once again. Moving through cat and cow. Seeking out another sore spot. If everything's all good, just pick somewhere and then settle into that second spot. Hold the pose, but not your breath. Keep breathing. Exaggerating the breathing, exaggerating that point in the pose that needs extra attention. And again, continuing the movement, inhaling for your cow. And exhaling for cat. About one more good cycle of breath here. And finishing in your cat pose. Now, we've been on knees for a while. If you need to slide that padding underneath your knees, go ahead and put that in place. Coming to hands and knees, toes can curl under for that added foot stretch. Hop up onto your fingertips and come into a dramatic Halloween cat. Chin tucked, tail tucked, back dramatically arched. And then back your hips up to your heels, still with your toes curled under, so you get that added foot stretch. And crawl your fingertips forward. You are up on fingertips. Hips back on heels, toes curled under, arms crawling forward. Breathing. Walk both hands over to one side and feel your side body stretch. Hips back on your heels, fingertips on the floor, side body long. And crawl all the way over to the other side. And reset, coming back to neutral. Same thing, hips back on your heels, toes curled under for that added foot stretch. Keeping your hips back, your arms forward, you're on fingertips. Walk both hands over to one side. Center, and then second side, second side. And reset to center. Untuck your toes, point your toes backwards behind you. And then crawl your hands back to your lap and go ahead, lift your head up. So I've turned myself to face the screen here. I know you can't see them, but my toes are pointed. The tops of my feet are down on the ground. My toenails are on the floor. I'm going to shift my weight off to one side, and you might have your blocks handy for this one. Shift your weight off to one side, maybe over here to the right side, and pick that left knee up. Hand can be on the block, hand can be on the floor, feeling the stretch on the front side of the foot. And then shift to the other side and peel up the other knee. Keep breathing. And again, back to center, shift, peel up, breathe. And once again, shift to one side, peel up a knee, and breathe. And reset. Okay, back to hands and knees. All 10 toes curled under again. Inhale, head up, tail up. And exhale, pull that tummy in. I dare you, I challenge you to do this up on fingertips. Belly, front ribs, and pulled in. Stretch your right leg straight back behind you, pressing hard through the heel. Front ribs and tummy are pulled up into your body, pressing hard through that right heel. And then same foot. You're going to smear the ball of the foot backward, still with the toes curled under. Smear the toes back on the mat. Get a little bit more foot stretch out of it. Still front ribs and belly pulled in. Up on fingertips, so you lift weight out of your hands. Keeping that tummy strong. Now you might still have some padding underneath that left knee. And reset. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Inhale, head up, tail up, sway back cow. Oh, then exhale, pull that tummy in. All 10 toes curled under. Stretching that left heel straight back, pressing hard through the heel, getting a nice calf muscle stretch. Tummy and front ribs pulled in. Elbows are unlocked. Smearing the ball of the foot backward. Still with the toes curled under, turning this into a more of a foot toe stretch. Front ribs and belly pulled in, up on fingertips. And then reset. Watch out again. All right. Toes can be pointed backwards. You're on all fours, hands and knees, toes can be pointed backward, padding underneath your knees. And now pay attention to your hands. You're going to spin your hands out to the sides. Keep your elbows unlocked. And you might shift side to side. So keeping your elbows unlocked will ensure you have a more intense wrist stretch. And you're less likely to aggravate your elbow joints. So keep those elbows unlocked, shifting side to side. Your spine's kind of neutral, so neither cat nor cow. Belly is lifted though. Coming to center, spin those fingers to point backwards. Still with elbows unlocked, shifting side to side. And now coming to center, forward and backward. Oh, by keeping the heel of your hand down, you might not be able to go very far. Again, your challenge is to keep those elbows unlocked, shifting forward and backward. Front ribs and belly pulled in, no saggy tummies, no saggy chest. If it is very intense in those wrists, the more you lift your belly and ribs up, the less weight you'll have on those hands. And then shifting forward and spinning those hands out. Oh, once again, you get to sit back on your heels and your fingers roll your wrists. So as you fan those fingers, fan them wide, roll your wrists. Think about wafting incense up like you're sniffing smoke or something, wafting it up towards your face, rolling your wrists one way. And then working your hands close together, putting the backs of your hands together. Shoulders are down, fingers, backs of your hands, backs of your thumbs coming together, sliding everything down midline. I'm going to get elbow, wrist, wrist, elbow, all in a line across the front of your body. Bring the backs of your thumbs together if you can. I got everybody over here this morning. And release. And now you've had enough of that. You're going to press and fan away. And again, pressing and fanning away. Pressing and fanning away. You're going to put the backs of your hands together now, fingers pointing down, shoulders shrugging back and down. Backs of your hands together, sliding up. This is kind of funky. So backs of your hands together and sliding up the midline of your chest. I'm only going to go so far, and then you'll get stuck. And breathe. And release. All right, you're going to slither out onto your belly. You need a block for this one. So you're lying on your tummy, and you're going to park that block. It's going to go underneath your forehead. Sure, I'm on camera here. Block is going to be for your forehead. You're going to start loosening up those shoulders a bit now. So pick an arm, any arm, it doesn't matter which. Cross it underneath. Cross the other one on top. You want everything below your throat. You want it under your chest, not under your neck. So elbows are crossed, and your forehead is going to go rest on that block. That's it. And breathe. Try to melt into it. Now, depending on how muscle bound your arms are, how big your head is, how tight your neck is, you might need to stack 1 or 2 blocks, or you might be able to turn your block down to a lower level than what I'm working on. Do make sure your head is supported so that you can relax your upper body and melt into it. Notice I'm talking. That means hopefully you're able to breathe. That means that your arms are underneath your chest, not underneath your throat. Nice, deep sighing breaths. How about just for fun, you find your breath in between your shoulder blades, breathing into that upper back. Maybe finding that breath in the middle back. Noticing if there's any restriction in those back ribs. Maybe find your breath in your lower back. Are you squeezing your butt for no reason? Let it go. Now you've been here for a while. Make a mental note of which arm is lower down, which one is higher up, which way your arms are crossed, because you're going to cross your arms the other way in just a moment. Figure out how to get out of this one. Oh, maybe shift a little side to side. Work those arms out. Oh, and then you get to recross, put the other arm in front. So I'm going to move my block out of the way just a moment. So other arm on top in front. Once again, that block goes underneath your forehead. Your head is supported. And this weird pretzely shoelace, not like shoulder stretch. And melt into it. So we're doing the other cross of the arms. And again, you're able to hear me. I'm able to breathe. This is not a choking thing. It's a shoulder thing. So arms are below your chest, not your throat. Take a check, a mental check here. Yes, this is kind of boring. It could be. It could also be really aggravating. If you're holding a lot of tension in those shoulders, if there's deeply held anxiety, tension, whatever stuff you might have in the shoulders, it's starting to let go. It might manifest as anger, frustration, irritability. Just breathe. It might help to take an outsider's perspective, that third person observer viewpoint on this whole situation. Yes, you could stay here for a nice long time. You're safe. You're not hurting yourself. Whatever mental stuff might be coming to the surface, just acknowledge that it's happening. That's an interesting thing to be happening right now. And then let it go. That's an interesting reaction. That's an interesting thought. That's an interesting emotion. Just let it go. We've been here for a while, so we got to figure out how to get out of it. You might shift to side a little bit. Oh, and uncross, crawl on out. Oh, take those arms out to the sides. Move the block out of the way. So lining up shoulders and hands on an imaginary line here. Fingertips up on the ground. You're going to turn and look one way, dropping the trailing shoulder down. And inhale to center and turn the other way, dropping the trailing shoulder down. Both elbows stay bent. Inhale to center and exhale, twist. Inhale to center and exhale, twist. Inhale to center. If you need more stretch, you bring your hands in more narrow. Elbows are still bent, elbows leaning forward. As you turn one way, drop a shoulder. And inhale to center, turn and twist the other way. Inhale to center, turn and twist. Inhale to center, and turn and twist. Maybe one more time, coming to center, bringing those hands in a little bit more narrow still, twisting. And twisting. Check in with your butt, let it go. Come to center. All right, and taking your hands down by your sides, turn your head to one side, you're resting your cheek on the ground. Take a moment to curl your toes under and shimmy your legs narrow. Bring your legs narrow. Cross one big toe on top of the other and let your heels go wide. One big toe crossed on the other, heels are wide. Legs are zipped up narrow together. Coming to center, forehead down to the ground. Do a shoulder shrug. Pull those shoulders all the way up to your ears. Pull your shoulder blades together on your back. And then slide the back of your hands down the back of your legs. And release. If it's difficult to keep your hands narrow down the back of your legs, if your elbows want to go wide, if you can't even get your hands on the back of your legs, or if you have a belt handy, here's your option. It makes it easier for everybody. You're going to take that belt across your butt. Your palms will be up. You're going to slide your hands underneath the belt. So the belt goes across the palms of your hands. Holding onto the belt will help keep your hands narrow. Shoulders shrug up, back, and down. Skid the back of your hands down the back of your legs. If you're holding onto the belt, that's a good trick. Squeeze that belt hard. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Forehead is still down towards the ground. And feel that stretch across the front of your chest. Knuckles pressing down the back of your legs, holding onto that belt nice and tight. And relax. I'm going to repeat that a few more times. Your challenge is to relax your butt. You've got your hands on the back of your hands on your butt so you can feel whether or not you are squeezing those butt cheeks. Your challenge is to keep those butt cheeks relaxed. So once again, palms are up. Shoulders shrug up, back, and down. Skidding your hands down the back of your legs. Holding onto the belt is a nice cheat. If you got a good grip on that belt, squeeze those shoulder blades together. Shoulders coming together, sliding down your back. Forehead towards the ground. Maybe the second or third time you do this, you can begin to peel your chest away from the floor. Still looking down, though. Forehead down towards the ground. Butt is relaxed. And release. Take a moment to jiggle your butt side to side. If you're not using a belt, if you got one handy, go ahead and use it. It's always better. Second, third, fourth time. If you have the belt, you might go a little further. All right, here we go. Third time. Holding on to the belt. Shoulders shrug up, back, and down. Skid those hands down the back of your legs. And, oh yeah, you do go further the third time. Peeling your chest away from the ground a little bit more. Now you're getting your chest off the ground by pushing your hands down the back of your legs, not because you're lifting your head up. Forehead is still down towards the floor. And release. So you might have gotten off the ground. I'm going to do it one more time. Shoulders shrug up, back, and down. Take a hold of that belt. If you can get your hands together, great. You might be able to clasp your hands together or hold on to that belt. Skid your hands down the back of your legs, peeling your chest away from the floor. Breathe. And release. All right, hands come beneath your shoulders. Shoulders shrug up onto your back. Slide those thumbs underneath your nipples. So hands come in real narrow. Thumbs underneath your nipples. Shoulders shrug up, back, and down. Elbows scrape your ribs. Inhale, prepare. And as you exhale, press your forehead into the ground. Pull your belly up into your body. Make sure that tummy is strong. Keeping that tummy strong, push into your hands and back up into your child's pose. Big toes together, knees apart, hips back on your heels. child's pose. Big toes are together. Hopefully you can see my feet there. Big toes are together. You might even cross your ankles. So big toes together, or you might be able to cross your ankles. Your knees are wide. I'm going to go at an angle just so you can see. I'm going to keep my hips over my knees, put my elbows down. Ankles are crossed or toes are crossed. Elbows down. That's what it looks like from the side. Elbows are down. Start working your elbows closer to each other. Palms are up. Find your front ribs, find your belly, pull them in. Nobody wants a saggy chest. And then you're going to shift that chest, shift your shoulders side to side. Shift your chest, shift your shoulders side to side. Really getting into those shoulders today, huh? Side to side. And with a couple repetitions, you might find that you were able to bring one ear to the floor and then the other ear to the floor. Front ribs and belly are lifted up, shifting side to side. Keep checking in with that belly. It wants to fall out. Don't let it. Keep that tummy lifted. And come to center. Now you get to flip your palms down. Separate your hands. Separate your feet. Curl your toes under. Backing your hips up towards your heels. Lift your hips up high to the sky. Turn this into a downward facing dog. Do make sure both hands, both feet are on the same surface. Both hands, both feet on the sticky mat. Take your feet as wide apart as the mat. And let's take your dog for a jog. Let your hips swish and sway side to side. Fingers are spread wide, even turned out to the sides. Elbows unlocked. Shoulders sliding towards your hips and away from your ears so the sides and the back of your neck are long. As you're breathing, finding breath in your back body, finding breath in your side ribs, pulling your hips out of your armpits, just stretching. Like a full body yawn, stretching, shifting, bending one knee then the other, pedaling your hips, pedaling your feet. And then come on down to your knees. And I'm going to encourage you to orient yourself so that you're looking towards the screen, facing it sideways. So here I am, side view. You might put your left shoulder towards the screen so that your right hand and right knee are on the ground. I'm going to take this right knee swinging out behind like a kickstand and roll open. So figure out where you're going in space. If you're mirror imaging me, that makes the most sense, I think. Hanging out here. Breathe. Let's take this top armpit towards your face like you're checking for deodorant, bringing it alongside your ear. Now this bottom shoulder shrugs away from your ear. Bottom shoulder away, top ear towards your face. Top shoulder towards your face. Breathe. Big side stretch. Supporting elbow is unlocked. Fingers are spread wide. Now take the extended leg, maybe push it out away from you a little bit. Shift a little bit more weight onto that left foot, the extended leg, and float. Can you float? Ooh. If you're feeling really strong, float. Bending those elbows, hands behind your head. Have to use your arms, your abs to float here. Breathe. And then come on down. We're going to shift, sweep, switch sides. So leg is a kickstand. Switching sides. Armpit towards your face, alongside your ear, bottom shoulder away from your ear. Big side stretch, breathe. Feeling that lovely stretch. If this is your right leg that's stretching out, you're going to shift more weight into that right foot, pressing that right heel down. Begin to float the upper body in midair, using your abs. And breathe. Hello, chicken. And then go ahead, release. Let's go back to that first side. Inhaling, floating open. And shoulders shrugged away from your ears. Reaching that top arm alongside your ear, bottom shoulder away from the ear. Now float the leg, the straight leg up. So far, so good. Get ready to bend top elbow, top knee. And as you exhale, crunch elbow and knee towards one another. And extend. Exhale, crunch. And extend. A couple more of those. I think this might be number 4. We're going to go for 8 total. Bottom shoulder shrugged away from your ear, elbows unlocked, fingers are spread wide. Stretch and crunch. I think we got 2 more. I'm not an aerobics teacher. I can't count. And 1 more. Good hard crunch. And stretch. And come on down, switching sides. So set it up. Hand on the floor, dials in the direction of the pinky finger. The elbow stays unlocked. The shoulder shrugs away from your ear. Going for that full side stretch extension. And then challenging yourself to float the straight leg up. Get ready, inhale. And as you exhale, crunch elbow to knee and stretch. Crunch and stretch. The more you keep your tummy lifted, the less weight you have in that bottom hand. So theoretically, you could do this on your fingertips. You got your abs nice and strong. There's very little pressure in that supporting hand. You're going for 8. I think I've got 2 left. You're starting to warm up those hips here too, in case you haven't noticed. And then extend and come on out. Let's go back to that first side and lie down on your side. And hike those knees in towards your chest. Now put that bottom elbow underneath your shoulder. So your forearm, this is your upper arm, is vertical, straight up and down. Elbow underneath shoulder, and shrug that shoulder out of your ear. Maybe bring that elbow in even more compact. You're gonna keep your knees down on the ground the whole time. Shrug the top shoulder onto your back, hand can be on your hip, and all you're gonna do is lift and lower those hips. So find your abs, you're gonna need them. Abs are nice and strong as you lift your hips up. Sit, just hover. And breathe. Again, shoulders down on your back, away from your ear, and you're feeling strong. And release. Staying on this side. You get to put that shoulder down. Oh, what a relief, right? Top hand will reach back for the bottom foot. Tricky, huh? So whatever foot's on the bottom, whatever hand on top, they come together. Foot and hand come together. Now let me show you this. Front hip, the front of the hip is rolling down towards the ground. So I can reach back, grab a hold of that foot. Now, whatever shoulder you're lying on, you're going to take that hand and reach for the top knee. So bottom hand, top knee. No good place for your head, except for a block if you happen to have one. We're going to do pretzel twist. Like Brandy's pretzel. So get a hold of that knee, get a hold of the foot, get a good strong grip on that knee. Hike that knee in tight, close to your chest. The tighter, closer you have it to your chest, the nicer and safer it is for your back. Hugging that knee tight in close to your chest. Push that thigh into your hand like your leg is trying to kick out straight, but you're holding onto it. You're not letting it go anywhere. So try kicking, pushing that leg to the end of your mat hard. Now, your other hand is holding on to the other foot, and you're trying to straighten the bottom leg. So you might see here, I'm trying to kick the bottom leg straight, and I'm holding onto it so it doesn't get to go anywhere. And as you breathe, try to relax those shoulders. Let your chest twist open. Maybe eventually both shoulders come down to the ground. So you might be feeling a bit of a hip thing. Definitely some middle back, shoulder, chest stretching, twisting happening. All kinds of fun stuff. Keep working it. It might not look like I'm doing much, but I am pushing hard. I'm going to push that top leg away, trying to straighten the bottom leg. And you might fidget your chest a few times, trying to get those shoulders to lie flatter. And release. Oh, you get to crawl on up and flip on over. Might take that block with you. It did come in handy. You're going to lie on the other side. Do the little hip lift on this side. So again, elbow underneath shoulder, knees in towards your chest. Your knees will stay down on the ground. Make sure that shoulder is shrugged away from your ear and the elbow is underneath it. Sideways is going to lift away from the ground. Top shoulder away from your ear, hand on your hip. Ready, set, lift those hips up. That's all there is to it. Just going to hold that. Hover. Breathe. So you have to use some abs to hover and some shoulder. The advanced version involves a smile, a pleasant expression, making it look easy. Now, when you set this hip down, think about kicking your butt out behind you so that when you set the hip down, you're on the front of the hip. The bottom leg is going to go back behind you. Shoulder comes down to the ground. Block goes underneath your head. We're going to set up for the pretzel on this side. So top hand, bottom foot. Top hand, bottom foot. Bottom hand, top knee. Hike that in towards your chest. And then turn it up. Kick hard. Push. Activate the pose. So again, I'm holding onto this top knee. The more you hike the knee in towards your chest, the safer it is for your back. But then when you get a good grip on that leg, push. If you're trying to kick that leg straight. And same thing with the bottom leg. Like you're trying to extend, kick the bottom leg straight, but you're holding onto it. You're kicking hard. And you're breathing. And you're letting your chest turn open towards the sky. Keep pushing, keep breathing. Keep encouraging your chest to open a little bit more towards the ceiling so that eventually your shoulders come down to the ground. And you get to release. To turn over onto your back. And this is where you might want to have your belt and your pillow and your blocks, all your toys nearby. I'm going to put a pillow underneath my head. And again, you've got your blocks and your belt, everything handy. Pillow underneath your head, bringing one knee at a time, both knees into your chest. Get to rock your hips side to side. Walk your hips away from your shoulders. Feel that lower back spread out on the ground. Coming to center, run your hands through the insides of your legs and turn this to a happy baby. Now, if your legs are so long that you can't reach the bottoms of your feet, you can use the belt to help you lasso those feet. You do want your feet flat towards the ceiling, knees bent, legs wide. So holding on with a belt or just holding on with your hands. Breathe. Shoulders down away from your ears. And you might rock that happy baby side to side, pulling down on one foot, then pulling down on the other. Set yourself to rocking. Do let there be enough stuff underneath your head so that you can breathe comfortably. You can work up some spit and swallow. It should not feel like you're choking if you swallow. So you can swallow, clear your throat comfortably. So put a block or pillow underneath your head so that you can breathe comfortably. And come to center. All right, you're going to bring your legs together. In fact, you're going to set your left big toe down on the ground and cross your right leg over. So right leg crossed over left. If this is your right leg, take your left hand to that right knee and bring that right knee in towards your left shoulder. Right, left, left, right, getting a little confusing. Now the other hand will reach out and grab the other knee. Your legs are crossed. Your legs are crossed, but your arms are straight. Again, depending on how loose your hips are, how long your legs are, how short your arms are, this might be your level. But if you have long arms, you might be able to slide your hands down towards your ankles. Do not go past your ankles. Let your feet be relaxed. Holding onto your ankles is the furthest point you want to go here. And breathe. Again, shoulders are relaxed. Head is supported on something so that you can breathe. If you're feeling really loosey-goosey, try bringing those heels up towards your shoulders. Legs are tied in a knot. You'll definitely feel this in the hip, in the butt. So this is your left leg. You're going to release that left foot to the floor. Keep that right leg crossed over. You can release your hands as well. So left foot flat down on the ground. The right leg is crossed over. You're going to push into that left foot. Lift your hips up. Shift your hips over to the right and drop it like it's hot. So hips went up, over to the right, and you drop them down. Still have this right leg crossed over. Left foot is still flat down on the ground. You're going to roll to the pinky toe edge of that left foot, bringing that right leg across your body. Bring it to a nice twist. And breathe. Definitely more of a hip and outer butt stretch. Similar to that pretzel, just a little bit more tangled up. Now, if this is your right shoulder and it's floating up off the ground, I do recommend hand on the ribs so that you don't aggravate your rotator cuff. And breathe, settling in. All right, roll over onto your back, still with this right leg crossed over, and now you're going to slide that right knee out to this side. Flex the right foot. You can recenter your hips so they're in the middle of your mat. Flexing that right foot, ankle bone finds the groove near the left kneecap, or the ankle bone goes to the outside of your left thigh. You're going to push that right knee away. And get some air, some space into the front of your hips. Your left foot's flat on the ground. So with your left foot flat on the ground, right knee pushing away, you're going to rock to the big toe side of the left foot. And then this is the little toe side of the left foot, all the while pushing that right knee away, keeping the front of your hips open. Tick-tocking side to side. I always think of an old-fashioned typewriter and that carriage sliding back and forth. Tick, 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 ding. And then reset and tick, 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 ding. Back and forth. So if you find that you're traveling down your mat, think about taking whichever hip is floating and hiking it up towards your armpit before you set it back down. So you take that floating hip and hike it up before you let it sit back down. And that should keep you from traveling down your mat. And it engages a little bit of abs for you too. Keeps you from messing up your hair. Now, after a few repetitions here, you might find that it gets easier. Hips loosen up a bit. Now, this is your left foot that's on the floor. If you take that left foot and you let it wiggle over to the right, you might find that you start stacking ankles and knees. So this is like Supta Agni Stambhasana. Fallen fire log pose. Eventually, perhaps you end up with your shins stacked. Feet flexed flat. Keeping your feet flexed flat will help protect your knees. I like this variation because there's very little to no weight on the knees. And it does give you a bit of a hip flexor stretch too, in front of the hips. Now, if you're like me and this knee never does quite touch the ankle, this is probably your level. You're probably getting plenty out of it as is. I'm pushing that knee away and it's not quite touching the ankle. But if you do have knee on top of ankle, you might consider sitting up and really stacking things. I'll do as I say, not as I do. I should not be doing this because my hips don't tolerate it very well. But if you're able to get that knee onto the foot, then you can sit up. And then you might even lean forward and put more weight on top of this whole situation without potentially messing up your knees. All right, when you've had enough of that, you get to lie back down. We're going to do the whole series on the other side, but first, you get to stretch out, full out, flat out. Reach through your fingers, reach through your toes, take up space, spread out. Oh, well, nice deep breaths. And we'll do that whole thing on the other side. So you're going to sweep your arms down by your hips, bend one knee at a time, place both feet flat. One knee at a time, bring both knees into your chest. Give those knees a hug. Walk those hips away from your shoulders. Getting your lower back and hips to spread out on the ground. Coming to neutral. Sliding hands down the inside of your legs for your happy baby, part 2. Again, plenty of stuff underneath your head so that you can breathe comfortably. Hips hopefully stay heavy on the floor. Gonna rock a little bit side to side. You might even consider kicking one leg out and then the other. Kind of doing a bit of a Peter Pan move, adding a little bit of hamstring stretch. Again, I'm demonstrating holding onto my feet, but you might be using your belt, or you might take your peace fingers, 2 fingers around your big toes. You may Peter Pan a few times side to side, and then grand finale, take both legs out. Letting those big toes dive down towards the ground. Open says me. Big belly breaths. You don't want to do this around children or pets. You never know what they're going to do to you in this position. So go ahead, close up shop. And now, right toe comes to the ground. Left leg crosses over. The right foot on the floor, left leg is crossed over. If that's your left leg, you take your right hand to that left knee and bring that left knee in towards your right armpit. This might be your level right here, getting a lovely butt stretch on that left hip. If you have long enough arms, long enough legs, you might be able to reach down with your left hand to that right knee. Tie yourself up in a knot. So the legs are crossed, but the arms are straight. The right hand stays on the right side of your body, the left hand on the left side of your body. Again, progressing, you might have the ability to reach down to your ankles. Do not hold on to your feet, just your ankles. Tie yourself up like a little shoelace. Feeling that lovely hip and butt stretch. So letting go of that right foot. The right foot comes to the ground. The left leg is still crossed over. So you can release the hands to keep the legs as is. Right foot on the floor. You're going to do a little pelvic thrust, push into that right floor, hip, lift your hips away from the floor and shift your hips to the left and then drop them down. Hips went to the left, drop to the edge of the mat. Left leg is crossed over. Chicken is in the way. And let your knees fall to the right, coming into that twist. If this left shoulder is floating, you want to put that left hand on your ribs. A feeling of hip stretch and a twist. All right, roll back to center. Right foot on the floor, left ankle crossed over right thigh, and you need to recenter your hips. Go ahead, recenter your hips. So left foot is flexed flat, left ankle bone finds that groove near the right kneecap, or the ankle bone comes to the outside of the thigh. Left knee is pushing away, right foot is down on the floor. Keep pushing that left knee away as you tick-tock side to side. And same thing, if you find that you're traveling, sliding down your mat, take that floating hip and hike it up towards your shoulder before you reset it to the floor. Just engages a little bit of abs, and it keeps you from messing up your hair. As things loosen up, you might take that right foot, the one on the floor, and heel toe it over to the left so that you start stacking your shins. Do keep both feet flexed to help protect your ankles, protect your knees. Ankles flex flat. Protect your knees. And again, if your knee is still floating up off your foot, you're doing just fine here lying on the ground. If you're one of those people who can get that left knee down on top of the right foot, then you might consider sitting up and maybe even leaning forward. Not me, but maybe you. Mm-hmm. And then when you've had enough of that, you get to lie down and stretch full out, flat out. Reach through your fingers, reach through your toes. Oh, and just notice how much of the back of your body is down on the ground. You can snow angel your hands down by your hips and spread your hips out a little bit more. Spread out your back body. Spread out your hips, spread out your butt. And you might be pleasantly surprised that the back of your thighs and your lower back are both down on the ground. Wonderful. It might feel good for you today to lie down in Shavasana. Nice and flat, starfish style. But if your lower back is still talking to you a little bit, or if you prefer a variation on Shavasana, you can always do half Shavasana, constructive rest pose, which is with the knees bent. So choose your own adventure. Settle in. Close your eyes. And again, find that breath in the back surfaces of your body. Breathe against the floor. Breathe into that space between your shoulder blades, and maybe let your arms float out at your sides, palms turned up. Breathe into your back ribs and let them spread out across the floor. Breathe into your back waist. Breathing down your hips, your legs. From head to toe, surrendering to the support of the earth.